Alvin Bragg might have just locked up the White House for President Trump.
Donald Trump is not taking his recent court loss lying down after a jury at a New York court found him guilty on 34 counts of falsifying business records in the Stormy Daniels hush money case. Trump gave an impassioned and some might say slightly meandering speech at Trump Towers.
It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We had a DA who was a failed DA. Crime is rampant in New York, violent crime. That's what he's really supposed to be looking at. Crime is rampant in New York. Yesterday in McDonald's, you had a man hitting him up with machetes, a machete. Whoever can imagine even a machete being wielded in a store, in a place where they're eating, and he's going rampant. And Bragg is down watching a trial on what they call crimes. They're falsifying business records. That sounds so bad. To me, it sounds very bad.
So what do Republican voters make of the outcome? And will it have any impact at all on the upcoming election? Well, Greg Swenson, chair of Republican Overseas UK, is with us now. Greg, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Alexis.
Greg, let's kick off by just saying, your reaction to the news when you heard that Donald Trump was found guilty on all 34 counts.
Yeah, disappointed. Of course, I was hoping for an acquittal, but I was not surprised at all. The jury was really set up by the judge to really have I can't imagine they would have any other outcome. So I'm not blaming the jurors at all. I think, the jury pool, yes, might have favored Biden to a certain degree. 88% of New York jury pool voters voted for Biden. But, they were really instructed to convict. So I don't think they had much of a choice.
Okay. Now that the conviction has come through, how do you think that is going to affect Republican voters? Are they okay with putting into office again in November, possibly, someone who is a convicted felon?
I think the answer is yes. And I wouldn't have said that 3 or 6 months ago, Alexis, but this indictment and especially the trial really exposed how unfair the justice system is in this particular case, not in general, but it's normally that would be the end of someone's political career, a conviction of a felony. But normally you wouldn't have even indicted anyone on these charges. So I think people will see through this, and that's what we're seeing already in the numbers. And it's not just Republicans. There's still going to be a percentage. It's not going to be significant, I don't imagine. But remember, it won't take much to swing this election. So if he loses 3 or 4 points, that is enough to lose the election. However, it's the independents and the moderates and the undecideds that are probably going to swing towards Trump. And that's the really incredible outcome here, is that Juan Marchand and Alvin Bragg might have just locked up the White House for President Trump.
What do you base that opinion on, Greg? I mean, you're saying that the undecideds will swing towards someone who has been found by a jury of their peers to have broken the law. I mean, a lot of people were retweeting Trump's tweets when he used to be on Twitter saying law and order, order. The Republicans are about law and order. But the law that applies to everyone has found that he broke it.
No, see, that's what you're missing is the law does not apply to everyone. It only applies to Donald Trump. And that's pretty clear. Now, if you read the headline and that's all you read and you see felony conviction, yeah, that might sway you. But most people see through that. Most people are actually following the trial. It's very public. Mm-hmm. And so this is helping him. I mean, he raised $54 million after the verdict in 36 hours. It's amazing. So I 6 months ago, I was saying the indictment is going to help him in the nomination, which it surely did. It's 30-point swing after the Alvin Bragg indictment, but that would hurt him in the general election. I totally flipped on that. This is not happening. And so at best case, he picks up votes, right? He'll get a lot of undecideds that were on the fence, and they see the weaponization of the justice system, and they say, I might not like the guy, but I'm going to vote for him because this is outrageous. This has to end. And so, and then, or maybe he just has unchanged numbers, right? The trial started 6 weeks ago. His numbers either stayed flat or went slightly up. And that's just amazing to see, where he's in a courtroom every day on a felony charge, which again, that's a stretch because it's a misdemeanor. The statute of limitations had run out. They really stretched any amount of law to get the felony indictment. And this has never happened. Not once in any state in America has the state or the state's attorney prosecuted anybody, not just a president or a politician, on federal election law. And also, what's never occurred in New York State is filing an indictment on a misdemeanor, or falsifying business records was the specific charge. But it's always attached to a fraud case. It's Bernie Madoff kind of stuff. If you have a fraudulent scheme, they also add on falsifying business records just to pile on some more indictments. So this is pretty outrageous, and I think the voters are seeing that. That's why he was able to raise money. There hasn't been any credible polling out. The only poll I think was Daily Mail. Snap poll, but I'm really curious to see what happens this week.
Okay, just one last question, Greg, before we go. You heard him speak in Trump Towers yesterday. The speech went on for quite some time.
Yeah.
What did you make of the demeanor of former President Trump? I mean, he sounded like he was rambling a little bit. There were some factual inaccuracies in what he was saying. What do you make of his state of mind?
I think he's tired. It's a rough couple of weeks for him, and so it didn't surprise me that he was meandering a little bit. That's his nature at his rallies, where he just goes on different tangents and changes the subject quickly. I was a little disappointed. I thought it went on too long, but a few factual inaccuracies, yes, but for the most part, what he said was true. If you want to, whether you talk about subjective things like, the witch hunt and all that, but I was pleased when he got to some of the issues away from the trial, like what people actually care about. I mean, this is almost a boutique issue. What they really care about is inflation. They care about 10 million illegal migrants coming across the border because of Joe Biden, not in spite of Joe Biden. Inflation that he basically caused, in effect. So this is like what people care about. I think they're going to vote on the issues, and if anything, he picks up voters. You saw Megyn Kelly over the weekend. You saw Maureen Callahan, both of whom disliked Trump. Andy McCarthy, who Trump referenced a few times in his speech, he really dislikes Trump. All of these people are saying this is a hoax.
Okay, Greg, I have to leave it there. Thank you for giving us your time.